What is going on, everybody? My name is Michael Levan. Thank you so much for joining me today. And what I want to talk about here is something called the Serverless Framework for AWS Lambda. Now, over the past few days, I've been working pretty deep into AWS Lambda, and I've been trying to figure out like the most efficient way to be able to deploy AWS Lambda. So I tried things like the AWS CLI, I tried things like Terraform, I looked a bit into CloudFormation, and then I was able to find something called the Serverless Framework. Now, if you're not familiar with the Serverless Framework, it's a very, very cool and quite simple way to deploy your AWS Lambda applications. So let's go ahead and dive right into the Serverless Framework, and we're going to learn how to build our very first Python serverless Lambda function. So I have VS Code open here, and I just created this new directory called Serverless. I just have it living on my desktop right now. You can put it wherever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the terminal here. And the first thing that you're going to have to do is make sure that you have npm installed. If you don't have npm installed, or if you don't know what it is, it's just a JavaScript package manager, and you can install it and then you can install the serverless framework. So the first thing that we're going to run is npm install -g serverless. You just bump up the size here on VS Code. And as you can see, it's going to start to install the framework for us. I actually already have it installed, but it's just going to go through and like check for updates and stuff like that. Okay, so I now have the serverless framework installed, and what that does is it gives me a CLI to be able to create an AWS Python Lambda function. So I'm going to type in serverless create template AWS Python 3. And then what this is going to do is this is going to kick off the CLI for the framework. It's going to generate a boilerplate. And now I have these two files in here. The first file is the handler itself. Let me just move out of here, minimize this a little bit. Okay, so this handler, it's very straightforward. It's a function called hello. And then you have the arguments event and context. This is for AWS Lambda specifically using Python. And then you have this message here. So like we could change this to like, I don't know, YouTube serverless tutorial. So the message and then the input is the event, of course. And then you have the response. So the response, again, it's just going to come out as a JSON output. So we have the status code, which is 200, get request is good to go. And then we have the body here. So the body is going to use the JSON package with the dumps function, and it's going to pass in the body to show the output of the JSON in the UI. Next, you have the return response here, and then you have a little bit of code here that's generated, and you can use this code if you don't use the HTTP event with the Lambda proxy integration. We don't need that, so we're just going to go ahead and get rid of that. We're going to save, and then next we're going to open up this serverless.yml. So this just creates a very basic configuration file essentially, and it shows, you know, the service that you're using, the framework version, the provider, the runtime, and then you have something interesting down here, the functions. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to copy something and we're going to paste it in right under handler. So you have events. So the reason why you want to use this is because if you don't, you're not going to get a URL to hit the Lambda function via UI. So what this is going to do is this is going to put a path. The path is just a /, so it's going to be that root URL. You're not going to like slash something. It's literally just the home page, the root. And then you have the method of get. So we want to be able to do a get request on this URL. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to save that. And then just like that, it's pretty much it. Then what we're going to do is we're going to type serverless deploy. And then this is where things start to get generated here for us. So for example, we now see that this .serverless folder popped up here, and there's CloudFormation templates that are actually created for us. So for example, if I open this, what this is doing is it's creating the S3 bucket for us to store all of the AWS Lambda information. If we go here, we could see that there's also an update stack. So really what the serverless framework is doing for you is instead of using CloudFormation and writing all of that JSON, it's doing it for you on the back end automatically, which is really, really cool. So at this point, you only have to worry about the code that you want to get into Lambda. You don't have to worry about creating the CloudFormation, creating the infrastructure as code, none of that. You literally just have to worry about your code itself. So as we can see down here, the stack is created. It's checking the stack update progress. This is just going to take a few moments here. And as we can see, the creation was successful. And then you have this URL down here for the endpoint. So I'm going to copy this, and then we're going to open up a URL, and then we're going to take a look at the output here and the Lambda function itself. So from Google here, I'm just going to paste in the URL. And boom, as we can see, our Lambda function is running inside of AWS Lambda, and we even have a UI that we can hit it. So any type of like front end code that you want to throw in here, for example, you absolutely can. Let's just do one more thing, and we're going to head over to the AWS portal, and then we're going to log in and take a look. So I'm in the AWS portal here. I'm going to go to Lambda. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for my new function that was created. Right here, serverless dev hello. We're going to click on that. And then as we can see, if we scroll down, we'll be able to see our code here. This is the code that was pushed up. So our message, YouTube serverless tutorial, and here's our Lambda function. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this. I definitely found this framework very, very cool. So definitely take a look, get started with it, and see what else you can create. And then let me know what you create in the comments below.